Any questions, anyone? Paul?
I don't know if I have a question.
Oh, okay.
I find it kind of hard to um I don't know, digest all those things with like the idea of non-duality, no self.
Right.
Um it seems so dualistic and
Contradictory.
structured and contrary, yeah, to like basic Buddhist or Hindu non-dual teachings. So how do you fix that contradiction? Or how do you deal with that contradiction?
One moment. Yeah, so I think I explained, maybe I probably explained this in a, um, I've definitely discussed it. I think so. In Buddhism, we have like no self, right? So I feel that like if we look at the two spiritual giants in the East, are Buddhism and Vedanta are really big ones. So in Vedanta, you do have um the self is awareness, right? Or awareness is the self. And then in Buddhism, you have the teaching that says awareness is not self. It's not this permanent uh
Mm.
enduring nature. How how higher self yoga fits into Buddhism, at least how I've experienced it, is that each of these levels of consciousness are like they're like levels of dreaming, including this one. So this physical incarnation is like a dream. And the higher self plane, like from the I there or the mainframe, for example, it's like a level of dreaming that is outside of time as we experience it in this dream. So all the experiences I've had with like cosmic consciousness or higher self, these are all planes of existence, but they're just configured differently from this physical plane. So like here in this plane, the mind appears as this room, as this computer, as this conversation. But in those higher planes, the mind appears as this formless light that extends through the universe, or it appears as this formless light structure mainframe that is manifesting as a variety of different incarnations. So, in all of these planes of experience, there is no findable essence as far as I'm concerned. Like the mind in those planes is still not this discernible, findable thing. So that's the main difference. Like for sure, what I'm presenting and what I've discovered is heretical as far as Buddhism is concerned, for sure.
Mm.
Like hands down, heretical, wrong view, 100% if you're following it by the book. But nonetheless, this is what has appeared, and the fact that it's pretty contrary to my actual training is what is interesting. So I don't see these planes as self, right? Like I use the word higher self, but self
Hmm.
in Buddhism means permanent.
Hmm.
Like that's literally what it means. It means a permanent, unchanging essence, of which I've never found,
Yeah.
right? So like from the human plane all the way up to God consciousness that I experienced in my near death state, um, there has never been anything that is permanent or unchanging. It's all just it's like the dream just becomes more and more refined until it begins to experience these levels or manifest as these levels that are very inconceivable, very, very different from
Okay.
ordinary human consciousness. So like in some of the planes, um, yeah, for example, like Tara, like I had an OBE once where I flew through a Tonka painting and I appeared in like Tara's dimension or something. And what was strange about this experience was that it's like, and this isn't said in any of the Buddhist texts, but it was like she was her own dimension.
Mhm.
Like imagine a Pure Land, right? The kind that you see in the Tonka paintings. Imagine like that's actually the internal structure of a deity.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Like a dream of a deity.
exactly. Exactly. Like the dream of a
So
deity. Exactly.
would would you say that those different worlds are aggregated, like they say in Buddhism or skandhas? Or um would you say that the divine spark or even the supreme consciousness is also like just a chaining of events or aggregates?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would
So it's
say that,
dreams of dreams.
yeah, dreams and dreams. Exactly. I would say that the divine, like Buddhism denies this intelligent organizing principle, right?
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is that it's possible, likely that there actually is a intelligent organizing principle. It's
Hmm.
just that it's not this permanent, uh, it's not this permanent, unchanging, outside of experience thing. It's still experience. So yeah, especially it reminds me of I think I told you what Peter Brown mentioned to me about God consciousness. I
I
told him
think so, but I forget.
yeah, I had this dying into infinity, eternity, ocean of light realization of the clear light sort of thing. And I told him about it, right? And he's like, yeah, so that appeared in consciousness, correct? I was like, yeah. And he's like, so that's still an experience.
Mhm.
Like your mind manifested, your mind appeared as this ocean of 10 billion suns in the same way that
Within
your mind,
experience. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. In the same way that your mind appears as this room. You know, this is Dharmakaya in the same way that that experience was Dharmakaya. All experience is Dharmakaya,
Mhm.
you know. So what he's saying and what I'm also saying is that what like no matter what plane of consciousness you experience, uh the mind is never an isolatable, findable thing in any of them whatsoever. So what I think is, I mean, what I think is going on and what Buddhism, both Buddhism and Vedanta don't acknowledge this is that um at least how the teachings are presented here is that incarnation happens sequentially in both Buddhism and Hinduism. So in the Hindu Atman model, the view is you die, right? And then you ascend to your Atman, or your Atman is like the ghost in the machine. And then the Atman descends itself again into another body, and then that body dies, and then it's like this between the Atman, the ghost in the machine, and all of these incarnations. But this is all happening sequentially in the Hindu model. It's the same thing in Buddhism. In Buddhism, it says that the Buddha realized and he saw, all of his former existences leading up to the present. So even in the Buddhist model
Mhm.
of rebirth, there's no Atman, but the aggregates recycle themselves sequentially in linear time. So what I'm proposing is that you actually have a vertical multi-dimensional spectrum of mind body of nama rupa. So here mind
Mhm.
body appears as this physical body. In the astral level, it appears as the astral body and the astral
Mhm.
consciousness, higher planes, the mind body, the nama rupa of that plane will be configured differently. So in Buddhism, they say like, for example, if you master the formless attainments, when you die, you will actually reside as a being in the formless attainments. But it almost sounds like you die and then you go there. But what I'm thinking and what I'm beginning to discover is that you already exist at that level of consciousness. Like one of your nama rupas is already a nothingness samadhi, infinite nothingness realm consciousness. Like it's already
Mhm.
there. That's why you can phase between the two while you're still human. So it's making me see the Buddhist 31 planes of existence completely differently because I'm not operating in a linear model of consciousness any longer.
So wait, so Buddhism is saying that it's linear
Buddhism is saying it's linear. Yeah.
and like,
I'm saying that it's only linear from our perspective here, but as soon as you get to
yeah.
the eye there, it's not linear anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I suspect that the eye there, at least in the Buddhist map, is somewhere it's like between the form and the formless planes.
Hmm.
Yeah, so Buddhism denies that there are all these levels of nama rupa. At least most Buddhism does. Dhammakaya doesn't, obviously, because Dhammakaya has these 18 bodies model, right? So
And what
literally
is
by
Nama Rupa?
a body, a mind body,
Oh, the bodies. Okay.
a mind
So it's
body.
kind of like Neoplatonic emanationist theory.
Yeah. It's it's actually very much aligned with Dhammakaya. Like
Hmm.
Dhammakaya says you have a formless Brahmin body. So your formless Brahmin body is already within the formless realms, right? So if your physical body dies and then you take rebirth in the formless realms, you just appear in your formless Brahmin body.
Hmm. You like wake up into that dream.
You 100% that's exactly how I would describe it. You wake up into that dream. Because what I got a sense for this, I have been getting more of a sense for this from my OBEs where this particular mind body configuration of Ryan, my life here, it appeared as an option in consciousness, you know? Like there were other windows, there were other options. But I had to remember, but then the consciousness remembered, okay, it's going to enter the Ryan option and,
Hmm.
manifest as Ryan, the Ryan configuration. So that's where, yeah, that's where it's at for me. It's certainly, I think Buddhism and Vedanta, if they make the concessions, like if they both make concessions in this regard, they can come to this like multi-dimensional vertically and then also um a multi-dimensional model horizontally in this regard, but they're generally not willing to make those concessions. So like Buddhism for sure, traditional Theravada Buddhism would not say at all that like you exist at a cosmic consciousness level plane. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it would say that like your samadhis produce those states as opposed to like you is actually a spectrum of nama rupa of mind body, levels of mind body, all dreams, dreams within dreams. So it's like this super consciousness, God consciousness is dreaming up these divine sparks. And these divine sparks are dreaming up these higher selves, and the higher selves are dreaming up the individual incarnates, which are us. So, and that would appear to be the case from what I've experienced in OBEs. It really does seem like the higher self is it has extended itself into thousands of video game avatars that we call lives.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, but you also have the other part, which is nowhere.
What do you mean
You've
nowhere?
you've got the non-dual part, which is like
Oh yeah, the
here,
non-dual part
which
would
isn't a location, it isn't a time, there's no structure, no form, nothing conceivable. So I just find that interesting that you've got like this structure of light and emanation as opposed to this void, empty space.
well, it's like the
Or not even that. Like that's not
not
even,
even
you know what
that,
I
yeah,
mean?
not even that exactly. Yeah, it's like this is a good way of looking at it. So think of a dream, right? What is an actual dream, right? Like a dream is nothing but the dreamscape. Like you can't
Mhm.
have a dream without the dreamscape, right? A dream is actually
Yeah.
just another word for a dreamscape.
Yeah.
That's
It's the whole
exact,
thing. It's the whole experience.
yeah, that's exactly what it's like with the mind or with mind and what we're referring mind or presence or whatever nature of mind in relation to mind body as in like intention and a personality structure and the elements that make up a vehicle, like a physical vehicle or a non-physical vehicle. Whatever plane or level or body that you're appearing in, it's just like a dream. Yeah, like
Hmm.
this moment, the mind is appearing as this in the exact same way that it appears in a dream. But like, yeah, mind is another word
Mhm.
for what appears. And so what I'm saying is that there are levels of appearance.
Gotcha.
That's it. That's all. That's the only case that I'm making, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, Buddhism or many practitioners, Zen, for example, they'll deny that there's like sure they'll say there's many planes, but they don't necessarily say that, you exist in this spectrum that goes through all these planes. So yeah,
Hmm.
but this particular analogy of the dream and the dreamscape, when like that's almost like a koan that a person could meditate on. It's like, where is the dream apart from the dreamscape, and where is the mind apart from experience? It turns out that they're
Mhm.
synonymous terms. They actually refer to the same thing. There's nothing there, right? There's no actual like background thing that's there. At least as far as I've discovered, there's you just get appearances all the way through. The human
Mhm.
level of appearance all the way to freaking vast consciousness experiencing multiple minds of countless beings simultaneously. And this also goes into the whole like Sambhogakaya theory, right? I think I mentioned this to you that it's for everyone who's not familiar with this. In Buddhism, there's this whole teaching on called Sambhogakaya. It states that when you become fully enlightened, you actually generate this deity body. And at the highest levels, this deity body can produce like thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of incarnations in the universe in samsara to, help sentient beings. That sounds a lot like the higher self. That sounds a lot like the
Mhm.
mainframe,
Yeah.
you know? It's like it sounds just like it. So I was talking to a Rinpoche about this, and I was like, "So what happens if you attain Sambhogakaya, and then you just wake up in the Sambhogakaya body, in the Sambhogakaya plane, and like that's what actually is the definition of attaining it. Like you just appear there, and it turns out that you were a Sambhogakaya manifestation the whole time. Like
Mhm.
you've been the dream of a deity the whole time. So when you look at it from that angle, that's not very convergent from that's not very divergent from what I'm saying. But of course, that's a Mahayana teaching, not a Theravada teaching. So yeah,
Hmm.
we could be theoretically, we could all be these dream characters of this deity sitting on a cloud.